Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, and I have two lovely people with me as I do every week, and that's Ian and Helena, and they're going to be covering the news in just a moment. How are you both?
We're both very well. How are you today?
I'm well.
Excellent.
I'm well.
We're bouncing
They make me giggle all the time. Shall we find out who else we've got on the show today?
Yeah,
we'll also be speaking to Ariana Sefre about her dreams to climb the property ladder and her love for the world of sports. We'll also be speaking once again with Director Ian Hodgkinson about the current building trade and the lessons he learned when he started out as a property developer. We're going to watch a creative success story from top dancer Wolfgang Mandela Mwanje, and we'll be hearing from our business expert Jonathan Pfahl on how to get on the London property ladder, and also we have Jane Wrafter's fitness tip on how to ease back pain, and I'll be answering a question from a viewer. But let's go for the news first.
Hello.
Hello again.
Hello. I'm glad you're talking about back pain tonight. I've always been. I'm always having back pain.
Why?
So I think it's my bed. But anyway, we won't talk about that.
To strengthen your back.
I need to strengthen my. I'm going to watch Jane Wrafter.
An excuse, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have today for
So
you?
Prince Harry, bless his heart, became the shining night for one young girl this week. Who couldn't see what was going on when she's in the middle of a crowd. So he picks her up and puts her on his shoulders.
How old was she?
And she's about 9 years old.
Okay, right.
She's about, not 19.
Yeah.
No. And everybody loved it, including the young girl as well. And the best bit of it was she didn't realise it was Prince Harry. She just thought someone had picked her up from the crowd, and her parents had said, that's okay, that's fine, and off she went. And it just sort of shows you how much Prince Harry connects with sort of people. He's got the Diana, effect with him as well. So he's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
It's an awe story.
Yeah.
We like awe stories.
Prince Harry always makes me go, oh, lovely guy. So obviously we've moved on a little bit, but Scottish people rejected independence, which I was really pleased about. Yeah. I don't know how everyone feels about it, but I know that.
It would have been a bit weird though, wouldn't it?
I think it would have been a bit of a crisis for a while, the economy anyway. Yeah. But Cameron was caught doing a naughty thing because he had a little chat with the Queen, and basically the Queen was elated about it, and he was talking to, I think it was an American politician of some sort, and he was heard saying that the Queen purred when he obviously broke the news, but you cannot, that breaches royal etiquette, so it's caused a bit of a hoo-ha.
Oh dear.
But
and I think I must admit I would love to hear the Queen purr.
I have to say I love that. I think it's wonderful to say that. You really could just get that sense of how she's feeling.
Could you imagine having that on your answer phone? Who's this?
Just imagine.
Oh.
So anyway, I'm so pleased.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased about it.
But I think they were mightily relieved at this sort of whole thing. Obviously the royal family were as well, because nobody wants to sort of see the breakup of the union that they've sort of created over a period of time. So I think the Queen was quite relieved on the quiet that this didn't happen.
I mean, just to run up to it all, because obviously we do photography, but I do casting as well, and it's always an indication of the economy, because it just was so quiet, and people they're worried and they don't want to spend, and it really affected business. And I thought, gosh, if it is that, independence, then for years I can imagine everyone struggling. Yeah. But anyway.
Right. Well, the people have voted, so.
Yes.
The people have voted.
It's all good.
The votes are being cast. They come in.
So,
did you stay up to watch it? I love it.
Did you stay up?
Oh, absolutely. I am an absolute person for anything to do with politics, and especially that sort of type of thing as well. And I used to stay up during the American presidential politics, and I used to love it.
I watched some of it. I know we're spending a bit of time saying this, but I watched some of it and I thought, great, it's going to go really well. And then I fell asleep, looked at my emails in the morning, and Made.com, which is just a furniture place, had released something saying we're now trading with a new country, and it was like a Blue Union Jack. I don't know whether they did it as a marketing ploy, but then it was, oh, we're really sorry, we made a mistake, we put the wrong email out, and I was like, phew. Anyway, moving on. I was thinking how, obviously you're giving a name by your parents, but if you're given silly names, how you have to grow up with that silly name. And talking of silly name, I was thinking about myself, and I think it's quite a nice name. Do you like your name?
Yeah, I was almost called Sunday.
Sunday?
Well, in Greek it's Kyriaki. But it doesn't sound great, does it?
No.
I'm so glad, because it's quite an old-fashioned name, because I was born on a Sunday.
You think that's bad? Do you know, I always remember my parents saying that if I'd been born a girl, my middle name was going to become Rosebud. Could you imagine? Rosebud.
Some of these
can you see me as a Rosebud? I mean,
actually.
Could you?
I like my current name.
No, but Katie Price's new little girl, who's probably heading a month now, is called Bunny. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not too sure.
Great.
And her other little girl, very sweet, is called Princess. Princess is cute,
nice,
but she really doesn't like her name. She also doesn't like pink, so she's sort of rebelling. But it does sort of form you in a funny kind of way, doesn't it?
Oh, Bunny's a bit, don't like
That's
that.
a bit
No.
And as you know, Love School is this weekend, and perhaps Katy Perry should become a classmate at Love School, because she is now saying that she is always too hot to handle for her boyfriends. And that's what sort of turned her into the most disastrous relationships that she's had. That she can't actually sort of, form a really good relationship with a boy.
I think she said people find her intimidating.
Yeah.
And she said she'll only go out with famous people, so she's obviously had some experiences.
No, that's not
and she
nice.
just has to keep,
keep going.
Just
to keep her options open. You
Absolutely.
don't know who you're going to get along with, do you?
She actually did say as well, if she doesn't find someone as in to commit to 100%, she'll still have children.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bit...
I don't know.
Just breaking up and not getting into a proper relationship. Yeah, she should go to Love School. I think she should.
Absolutely.
I think everyone, actually, even if you're really good, if you're doing really well in your relationship, you should still go to Love School, because you can always improve.
Absolutely. I quite agree. Well,
You're going, aren't you?
Yes,
I'm going. Well, I'll be on stage for a bit. But then hopefully I'll get to sit down and enjoy the actual class afterwards.
Also, another thing, talking about names, but also obviously being in the limelight, you know, if you get stalkers and things like that. I'm sure you get lots of stalkers.
I have had a few weird emails, I have to say.
I bet
no one's stalking. Well, not that I've noticed anyway, but you have had a few.
Shia LaBeouf, who's the actor from Transformers movie, he's had a lot of problems with alcohol and various things. But recently he's had a sort of this woman who's been stalking him, who thinks she's his Albert Einstein. It's completely mad. And she's been sat in his drive eating watermelon and completely intimidating him. No. But he has taken he's got a restraining order against her. But it must be so hard, you know? Just because he's in the limelight.
Watermelon. It's like so random. Yeah, it's horrible.
Anyway,
but I think
it's scary the other way around though. When it's a bloke sort of stalking a lady, I think it's.
Perhaps she's carving them ready for Halloween or something.
It's completely mad. It's completely mad. And another sweet story. We've talked about Chloe Moretz, who is Brooklyn Beckham's girlfriend. But she was saying, because they're so young and it's very sweet, and she's really excited at how focused he is. And he wants to be just like his dad and wants to train as a footballer, but that's what he admires. I mean, they're that age, but she just thinks that's real strength in a guy. Good for them.
That's good. At age already, to have ambition and drive.
And I know you're talking about property tonight.
Yes.
So we have our own property story.
Do you?
We have our own property.
Have you been discussing it in the green room with us?
No.
Want to keep it a secret?
This is an island in Ireland. That's rather hard to say. An island in Ireland.
It's quite Northern Ireland.
That's up for sale for £140,000, and it even has its own beach. tunnel, 140,000 pounds.
It's called Inindushi Island.
Why is it so cheap?
No, it's not. It's got ruins on it and things like that, so there isn't really a house as such.
Okay.
But it's just so exciting. I was thinking I'd want to make it into like a, I don't know, an adventure island.
Yeah.
And you fly people in by helicopter and set things up, and it's so just, it would be amazing.
You're just so excited.
I am. I can
see her face close up.
She's going to create UDI.
I would love it, absolutely.
And there's this wonderful
an
story
adventure
as well.
island.
There's this wonderful story as well. We're talking about sort of business enterprises at the moment. And there's a young lady called Emily Keats from Cornwall, 19 years old. And she set herself up as a mermaid.
Oh.
She's the first professional mermaid.
She thought this would be a great idea to do for children's parties and the like. And she even created her own costume. She's a seamstress as well, this young girl, and she's a fashion designer. So she turned 2 of her old swimsuits into this fishtail. And now she is a sort of a professional, the first professional mermaid.
Although there was somebody who said actually she got there first.
Okay. We'll let them argue out until we go for a break. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again very soon.
We will.
Well, I shall see you at the Love School. Okay, so do stay tuned, because in the next part we'll speak to Ariana, who has managed to keep both of her passions for sports and property alive in her professional life.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show. Always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. Now we're going to speak to Ariana in just a moment, but first of all, let's take a look at the success story.
Today we're in the dance studio with one of Britain's top dancers to talk to him about his own success story. Wolf has really appeared on television, has worked with some of the major recording artists around the world, and is a lead dancer and a model. Wolf, it's really good to meet you again today. We've met before. Tell me a little bit about your history of what you've actually done over the past few years and what really inspired you to become a dancer and a model in the first place.
Well, I actually started dancing in university when I was 19 years old, and I kind of just didn't really think it would be a career for me. I just tried my best, like worked as hard as I could. I met some incredible people. I danced with my best friend on a show called Got to Dance. The two of us were called Parallel on the show. And when I finished university, we both decided that we wanted to take it to a really professional level. And I guess since then, I've just worked so hard. I've trained in London, I've gone to Paris, I've gone to Los Angeles just to really create myself in as good a dancer as I could be, as much as it's always a growing thing. And I've had the pleasure of dancing with some amazing artists like Little Mix, Rita Ora, Stussy. Yeah, it's been unbelievable. So I'm just really thankful for where I am in life at the moment. I guess, to be honest, maybe you could say there's some natural rhythm there. I mean, as a kid, I've always loved dancing. I guess I was really influenced by people like Michael Jackson growing up. And yeah, I guess my parents, they like to move in the house every now and then. So maybe there is a sense of natural rhythm. But apart from that, I've really worked as hard as I could to get where I am now, especially because I started dancing properly at 19. I started so late. A lot of people start when they're 3, but I started really, really late, and I've just worked so hard to get to where I am now. I really and truly believe that if you have a dream, you should just go for it. There's so many kids that I teach, and I say to them every day, if there's something you want to do, you want to be a singer, actor, teacher, anything, you can do it. Like, it doesn't matter when you start. My first dream was to play in the NBA, and you know, it changed, and now I am achieving my ultimate dream, which is to dance for some unbelievable artists. So anything is possible. I kind of got into modeling about a year ago professionally. I tried it when I was younger. I tried when I was 18, 19, but I didn't actually find any success. A lot of agencies were saying no, and I didn't really believe I had a career in it. So yeah, I guess you could say last year I had a eureka moment, and I decided that I wanted to really push it again. And so I've had great opportunities, especially because dance and modeling going so well. So I've worked with fashion shows where I've danced and I've modeled at the same time. And also last year I did a Tesco advert, which was heavily based on dancing and modeling.
Thank you very much. So now we have Ariana Sefre with us. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, yes, great, thank you.
So it's so lovely to have you on. So let's start with, we're going to talk about the property stuff in just a while, but let's talk about the sports first of all. So how did you get into that first?
Well, I have to be honest, it started off as a bit of a sad story. I was incredibly overweight as a child. I mean, obese. And that was a mixture between never being told to stop eating, never being told to do the right exercise, and just generally not really knowing how to look after myself.
Did you get bullied because of that?
The thing is, I grew quite a thick skin because of it. But yes, you do, and I don't think it's fair on any child to have to go through the horrible comments said by peers when they're younger. But anyway, so when I got to about 16 years old, I realised I had to do something about it. And that's when I started getting really interested in sports and fitness, started training a lot, eating well. And after about a year or two of doing that, not only did I notice my skin was looking better, I was losing weight and I was healthier, but I was so much happier. And that's when I put...
What kind of sports were you doing at the time?
So at the time, I'm a ballet dancer. I've danced since the age of 2, doing ballet, but then I started picking up lots of things on the way. So I've also skied and surfed most of my life. I played a lot of netball when I was in school as well. And I've just kind of tried my hand at whatever I could.
What's your favourite though? Because you could sort of like so many different things.
My favourite is ballet.
Really?
Yeah, it's
so
ballet.
That's your passion from when you were young.
I absolutely love it. It's like my meditation. Like some people go to yoga, I'll go to a ballet class. And it keeps your posture great and it just relaxes me a lot. So yeah, that's my favourite.
Okay, so you're doing also sports presenting now?
Yeah, so I started getting into presenting work about a year ago, and then I found that mixed with my passion for sports and the fact that I did a couple different sporting roles in the past few years as well, I found that I had an expertise in sports. So sports and property are probably my 2 expertise when it comes to presenting jobs.
Why property then? Because that's quite different from sports, or are they linked somehow?
Well, it's completely different. It's just, well, property, my dad's actually an architect. So all my life he would take me out to see ruins and see buildings and explain to me how the built environment shapes the way we live and shapes people's behaviour and essentially shapes how communities behave. And I found that concept fascinating. So I started studying property investment at university, and then when I left university started working as an acquisition surveyor. But I mean, like you said, are they connected? It's something that maybe I only believe, but I actually think they are. I think that in the property industry, it involves a lot of teamwork, a lot of hard work and a long duration of time to get projects finished. And I think that the exact same thing happens in the sporting world, where it takes a lot of teamwork and a lot of time to win competitions.
So you're quite interested in getting on the property ladder. What is it that, because we've also got some experts on today, what is it that you'd like to hear from them? Like what kind of questions do you have?
Well, I'm already on the property ladder, so I bought my first property about 6 months ago down in Tooting.
What was that like, buying your first property?
Oh God, it was a complete whirlwind and the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life.
Well, they do say getting a new home and stuff is one of the most stressful things in life.
Honestly, it's great now, but for 6 months we were going through all the legal processes. 3 properties fell through. We were under offer and they fell through before exchange, and it was just heartbreaking whenever it happened. And
that's happened to me before as well. It's horrible. But looking back, I was so glad that happened, because then the next property we found was so much better.
was actually better. No, exactly. And because obviously I was doing it with a mortgage, there were developers, cash buyers coming up, and I just obviously I can't compete with them. So in London, it's really dog eat dog when buying a property. But yeah, finally got a place in Tooting. I've spent the last few months trying to slowly redo bits of it. I'm doing bits of development here and there, and then looking to sell it in a couple of years to do something else bigger.
Okay, and what about for the future regarding property? What do you see yourself?
Well, my plan is to build up a portfolio of properties. That's what I want to do. I want to go into development. Yes, I am very ambitious. I want to set up a travellers hostel. That's one thing I'm very passionate about. So my next step when I sell...
If you don't mind me asking.
Because I personally think there is a gap in the market in London at the moment for a certain type of travellers hostel.
Okay.
And I've always liked the idea of owning a boutique hotel or a hostel, and mixed with the fact that I've travelled quite a bit over the last few years as well, I think there's this amazing atmosphere in travellers hostels where you go there and you feel like you're part of a family, and that's the kind of business that I would love to run.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay, so I know Jonathan's going to have a few things to say about that, and he'll probably give us some great advice too.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so it's time for a break now, but stay tuned, because up next we're going to welcome back Ian Hodgkinson, and he's going to be speaking about the current building and contracting trade and his own company, Hodgkinson Bricklaying Contractors. So do join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. Now in a few minutes we're going to be talking to our guest Ian, but first let's take a look at the fitness tip from Jane on helping to keep a healthy back.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane. Welcome to your fitness top tips. Today I want to talk to you about back strength. So many people suffer from weak backs and back pain, and it's really important that you keep your back healthy. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things. One is flexibility, because actually getting your back moving is really good for your lower back, and also strengthening the muscles that support your spine. Okay, so a really simple exercise you can do every day, and it's not difficult and it's really good for your back, is a simple cat stretch. So all you need to do is put your hands and knees on the floor, and then you curl through your back and give your back a really good stretch. Tighten here in your tummy, let your chin go into your chest, let your tailbone tuck right underneath so you can see that my back is getting a really nice stretch there, and then lift, nice deep breath, and curl through. And if you did several of these every day, especially if your back is aching after a long day at work or a long car journey, these can really help you ease off any back pain that you've got. They're really good for you. Another exercise that you can do is to strengthen the back muscles. So what we were doing then was stretching them. What I'm going to show you now is to strengthen. So if you put your hands on the floor like this and have your elbows in line with your shoulders, and then float your chest up and just feel these muscles here start to work. Try and keep your chin tucked in and your shoulders drawn down your back. So I'll just show you what it shouldn't look like that. Okay, so you want shoulders down, chin down. So you lift and lower like this. And if you want to strengthen the muscles in your upper back as well, you can, when you're up, float your arms and squeeze the shoulder blades together. This is a great exercise for posture as well as your back. It really helps to draw the shoulders back and down. Now, if that's too much for your lower back, you can pop your head down on the floor and then just lift your arms and strengthen your upper back. So I really hope those are helpful to you. Have a go at them if you have any back pain at all, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much to the lovely Jane, and I'd like to welcome back Ian Hodgkinson.
Hello. Hi.
Hasn't been long, has it?
No, it's just been a few short weeks.
Yeah, because we didn't actually get time to finish to fit everything in, did we, on the last show? Because you had quite a bit to say.
Talking, didn't we? And,
we got carried away. But first of all, before we get into what we're going to be speaking about, have you got any tips for Ariana? Because obviously she's already on the property ladder and she's got a lot of ambition. Any top tips that you have for her?
Yes, I've got a tip. It's not a glamorous tip, but it's something I always see on the DIY programs and the makeover programs, and it always makes me chuckle. And the presenter will say, you know, have you gone with the budget? Because that's being a property developer. That's my main thing is the budgets, you see. And they'll always say, oh, it's gone over, you know, and You know, instead of costing 200,000, it's cost 250. Now, to me, that's a horror story. Now, when it comes down to planning your project, it's planning, planning and planning, and it's homework, homework, homework. And this is my top tip, is that unfortunately enough, the thing to do is to get your contracts right. And I spend as much time putting a contract together these days that I will actually building the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it is important, isn't it? Because you could really get
it is. But say for example, your budget is 200,000 and it ends up at 250. You're screwed. Where are you going to get 50,000 from if you have not got it? If you can't borrow it, if you're end of your cash, there's a problem. Now, of course, you think, well, how do you get rid of that risk? How do you do that? And it's all down to your homework, and it's getting everything. It's all your specification and everything within the contract and within your plans, and it's working through it. And getting your taps and your doors and your skirting boards all specified, know exactly what's happening. And of course you'll get, what about those other anomalies? Ground conditions. Who knows what's in the ground? Well, do a ground investigation. Invite the builder that you are going to do the work to do his ground investigation. So that risk is then gone. And anything else that might be there. A new build is always a lot easier to do than a conversion. But again, if you're going to do a conversion, investigate those areas where there may be discrepancies and nail it. Nail everything down. So at the end of the day, your budget is your budget, and that's what you do. Sense. And that's how you bring it in. Definitely. And that's how I bring my projects in. Because I can't afford them to go over by any sort of money, because that's what I've got in. And that's what I'll be spending.
Brilliant advice. Thanks for that. I'm sure Ariana's taking from that. Okay, now tell us about the building industry now, because there is a shortage of builders apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Well, it is of course what's happened over the last few years. We've had the worst recession in my living memory, and it's decimated. It's decimated the whole industry, right? And I can remember talking to my advisors and accountants, in 2007, 2008, when all this was, the credit crunch, as they called it then, was starting to set in. And they said at the time, the landscape is going to change. And it has. It has. The industry from where we were in 2007, which was a good year for me, to where we are now, has totally changed. And the people that I used to work with, other firms and contractors, they're not there. They've gone bust, couldn't sustain it. They've gone to do other jobs, and of course they've retired. And in downtime, what you should do is educate. But because the funds have not been there, the education hasn't been there. So when the recession lifted, which was about 12 months ago, 14 months ago for us, there was basically nobody left to do the work. Now, you're talking about nearly 30-40% less of the workforce gone, disappeared, right? But the work levels are now at similar levels to 2007, 2008. So we're up there.
Wow.
We're up there. So those that are still there can capitalise on that, like we were. I mean, I use a phrase that we got to that point. We were last man standing. Really, we were last man staggering there.
Staggering, you survived.
Yeah, we survived. It's all about survival and getting there. And bricklayers in particular, we're just inundated with inquiries. It's on all the time, all over the country and beyond. And,
so where are you going to find them?
Well, we've got a massive database of guys. We've got over 10,000. We've got 10,000 guys.
Wow.
Yeah, and we are looking for them all over the country, and we text them.
If anyone's watching,
yeah,
get in touch with Ian.
I need bricklayers. Yeah.
And it's a good job as well, isn't it?
It's a fantastic job. My guys at the moment are earning, on average £200 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, compared to where they were, 2 or 3 years ago, they are doing very, very well. And we've got over 100 bricklayers on at the moment at that rate.
Yeah.
and we're building apartments mainly all over Stoke and Coventry and Derby, and we've got industrial projects on, and it's going great. But we've stayed in contact with our guys, and we've done some training as well. And I do a lot with the local college, so I'm getting the pick of the new apprentices. And I go and talk to them and inspire them and say, look, I can employ you at the end of this. I can give you a job. And they go, yeah, I can.
That's
There's
great.
work for you at the end of it.
Can I just ask, how long does the training actually take? Because I don't know much about
this. This is important, to come, to turn the work shortages round, to turn the labour shortages round. It's going to take maybe 5 or 6 years, because your actual apprenticeship will be 3 years. So you'll be qualified in 3 years, but you need the experience.
Okay.
So going beyond that, you're going to need 2 or 3 years beyond that to really get to that going, to really get up to those really good earning levels.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's really eye-opening, actually.
Yes, it is.
So there are jobs out there.
Yeah.
You just have to look in the right places.
It's a really good trade. I was reading about somebody the other day who really wanted to go to university. But he'd actually turned that down to become a bricklayer. Oh, yeah, and he's done so well. He's now won UK Bricklayer of the award and of the year. So, it's just different aspects.
Yeah.
It's a really good job to have.
Sounds like it. Ian, thank you so much. We've run out of time again. Oh. But at least we got this bit in this time, because I really wanted to speak about this last time, but we didn't have time. But thank you so much. And I'm sure that's opened a lot of people's eyes, and they might be knocking on your door very soon.
Absolutely.
Hopefully. Okie dokie. Well, do stay tuned, because after the break, we'll be talking to business expert Jonathan Pfahl, discussing today how to get on the London property ladder. And we'll also be answering a question from a viewer.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. We're going to continue talking about property, this time with Jonathan Pfahl, who's going to give us some tips on how to get on the London property ladder.
Hi, hopefully, absolutely. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Very well.
So we're hearing from Ariana and Ian earlier. What did you think, first of all, of Ariana's
story?
Well,
Ariana, it's brilliant to see someone of such a young age who's been able to, with her own savings, put the deposit down and find a property suited to her and get herself on the property ladder.
Even after so many disappointments as well, she carried on.
Exactly, and as she mentioned before, it is a dog-eat-dog world in London property, and there are some different tips that I'm going to talk about tonight to prevent you being gazumped or having the seller find a better offer and go with that, or for whatever reason lose out on the deal. But it's great, and what I loved about her story was that she's already thinking ahead. She already has an exit strategy that she wants to do over the next 2 years, but she's bought somewhere there where she's already seen an opportunity to add value to it, which is a very, very important thing, especially in the current market. Any first-time buyer, you have a choice. You're either purely looking to buy your first place to live in yourself, or of course you do what I did, and your first property is an investment property where you're renting it out in order to generate more income for yourself, but at the same time, if you can buy a property that you can add value to, which is what I did, you buy it for this level, you spend a little bit of money refurbishing it, it then gets revalued, you can remortgage, take the money out, still own it, and then go and buy the next one. But her idea on the hostel is also brilliant too, because it's a hotel or a hostel is the highest yielding property asset you can ever own.
So she's on to a winner then?
She's on to a winner, absolutely. As long as it's full. She's got to make sure her capacity and she's getting people there, otherwise it's not the highest returning. But if it's a good quality hostel, a good quality hotel, you're charging higher rates than any landlord ever could. And that's why if you get it right, the income's very good.
Well, we do wish her all the best with that.
Absolutely.
Now, we do have a question, Jonathan, because I needed your help with this one, because I have no idea how to answer it, and I'm being honest, right? So we need your expertise here. This one's from Claudia, and she says, "Hi, Chrissy, I'm so frustrated right now. I sold my flat, which was on the market for a while, but now I'm stuck at my relatives with no hope of moving. The house prices in my area have shot up as there are plans to build a big shopping centre in the area where I am. It's fine, but my son and I need our own space now and just want to settle. Please, I need help. Help her, help her.
Oh, the joys of having to live with relatives, hey?
But at least they've taken her in. That's a nice thing, isn't it?
That is a very nice thing, absolutely. And I'm sure they're a lovely family. I'm sure they're wonderful. But as she said very openly, she needs space for herself and for her son. What's happened since she sold the property is it's an example of regeneration, right? And regeneration is when private organisations and mainly public companies, the councils or the government, decide that they want to invest money into that area in order to improve not just the facilities for the local residents, but to provide more opportunities to the local businesses. And all of these areas and types of regeneration, it leads to a natural increase in property. So she has unfortunately sold her property at a time before the announcement's been made or before the shopping centre has been planned to go ahead. So there's every chance now that that area is going to continue for the foreseeable future to go up. And she does love the area. She does love the idea of being close to her relatives, but not under the same roof. So here's what I would tell her to do. If she was to get a physical map of the location that she's in and put where her flat was or where her area is in the middle and start drawing equal zones, almost like a ripple effect, circular lines around the areas and town that she is in, and see what other areas that she could like to live in, which are close to that area but haven't yet benefited from the growth, to start looking in there. And if she sees, for example, another town close by where she does like, it's a nice place, it has some of the same features and facilities there, and it doesn't yet have the growth of what's happening with regeneration, especially if it's a little bit further out, she'll probably find that she'll be able to buy a bigger place with the budget that she has. So it's all about, rather than squared zones, I mean, London's a great example. Going back to what we're talking about tonight about helping first-time buyers. Trying to be a first-time buyer and buying in zones 1 or 2 now in London. If we think about the zone map in London, we start in the heart of zone 1, and then the zones are a circular effect, aren't they? They breach out. It's very expensive now, and so unless you do have a very large amount of cash hidden under the bed or a way for you that you've been saving for, or rich relatives, the bank of mum and dad is always a good one, then you're looking realistically at the zone 4, 5, 6, even further out past it. But there are 2 different ways a first-time buyer can look at things. The first one, as I said before, is you are buying purely with the idea to buy a property for yourself to live in. And as Ariana did before, she saved up just under a 30% deposit. It was effectively a 25% deposit, and the bank had agreed to lend her 75% of the property. But the first thing you need to do, the first step, let me just take a step back. Step number 1 is make sure your credit history and credit report is as good as it possibly can, is as beautiful as it possibly can be. And let me explain. We all can get access to our own credit reports. Experian, for example, is the largest credit agency in the UK. It costs £5 to download and see your full credit report. And it goes back many, many years. And if there's ever been a default on a phone bill or a missed payment on a credit card bill, it is there. And all of those negative red crosses or red dots against your name, when a lender is looking to do a mortgage application, the first thing they do is a credit check. You, though, have the ability to make physical amendments or notes to your credit report. So if 3 years ago, I mean, to use an example, I once had a county court judgment against me because I had a tenant in one of my investment properties who wasn't paying their gas, wasn't paying the electricity, but the name on that property was registered to me. And so as these bills were being chased to me in a property that I wasn't living in, the tenants didn't tell me about it, and it wasn't until later on that I had the request to go to court to pay an unpaid bill. Now, I didn't know any of this at the time, but when I saw it on my credit file, I was able to go back and show and prove that that big cross in my credit file was due to this specific information. So when banks are doing credit checks on you, whenever they see a mark against your name for a missed payment or any of those things, if there's nothing else to justify it, it's going to be very difficult to get the loan that you want. So the first thing is make sure that you know what your credit file looks like, what your credit report looks like, have an understanding as to what your credit score is, and if there's an issue with it and it is looking very poor or something's happened recently, the reality is it's going to be very difficult to get a mortgage. Right. So you need to look at what family and friends around you could be a guarantor, or what you can do, which I've done before, is you can get someone to take the mortgage on your behalf, and legally you are responsible for that individual mortgage as well too.
There's always round things, isn't there?
There is, if you know what you're doing.
That's what Claudia's saying, she's lost hope, but there's always hope if you should speak to the right people. And,
that's true. So, but the first thing is, whether you go down buying through it yourself, and I'll talk about the Help to Buy scheme in a sec, or whether you're buying a buy to let, if your credit report is listed with missed payments and defaults and no justification of it, it's just not going to happen. All right. So that's the first thing you have to get done.
We'll cover the rest in 2 minutes, you think?
Oh, yes, we will. Okay.
I'm going to speed up now.
So the first thing is to keep in mind, firstly is, if you're looking to get on the ladder, take advantage of the Help to Buy scheme. Okay. It's effectively, rather than having to put in a 25% deposit, you only have to put down a 5% deposit. Right. It's government backed, therefore the interest rate is a lot lower than what it traditionally would be. Yeah. And it means that rather than putting a 25% deposit, it's only 5% up to a property for purchase worth $600,000. Yeah. And the second thing to keep in mind is, rather than just love the property, if you can always, as Ariana has done, look at ways if you can buy something that you yourself can add value to, you will always be better off in the long run if you can generate that type of increase in capital value from adding things to it.
Okay, that's it. We finished?
Yeah.
Oh, we finished in time. That's brilliant.
Well, I was right. You said 2 minutes to go, so I'm not sure how much you get in.
Okay, thank you so much. Great advice as usual, Jonathan.
Great.
That's been brilliant. Okay, so we have reached the end of the show, and it's been great speaking to all our guests today, and I really hope you've got some great advice for yourselves there. So, you know, as we've been saying, if you do really want something such as a new career, your own home, don't give up, because I think there's always a way when you really want to do something. Speak to the right people, be persistent in your efforts, and you will succeed. If you want more information about the show, you can visit the website, chrissybshow.tv. And if you'd like to email me, you can do so on chris@chrissybshow.tv. See you again soon.